What's up, summoners? Colby Cheese here, and these are my first impressions for the new remade Jax as well as a jungle guide. The new remade Jax has a very high sustained DPS with extremely easy time in the jungle. He can start with a Vamp Scepter, do the blue golem, and then do a full clear at almost full HP and mana at the very end and be ready to gank or just continue on farming. Due to this, you have really good options for both counter jungling and or just farming your own jungle, as well as ganking at any time you choose to and then running back to the jungle and continuing to farm even if you're a little bit lower HP and don't have health potions. That's pretty much where the good news of the Jax remake ends. While on paper, Jax sounds really strong, I found him to be extremely lacking for several reasons that I'll be going over in this video. Lately, I really hate doing like negative reviews of champions because everyone seems to get pissed off about it, but I had a very hard time finding many redeeming qualities about the new Jax. So I will go ahead and, in order to just like quell the comments of, oh, well, I carried a game and had a high score on Jax, blah, blah, blah. Let me go ahead and go over what situations Jax will excel in and when he is strong. In order for Jax to actually fulfill his role, he must have the opportunity to just jump into a fight with no stuns or slows or CC of any sort and really no type of focus, fire, or burst on him at all. He can't actually burst very hard himself, but he does do very quick damage onto a champion if allowed to auto attack. So it's not like he's just going to use his abilities and automatically wreck somebody. He has to sit there and attack them a few times, but he can do a lot of damage if left alone. If left alone and champions don't try and run from him, he'll definitely wreak some havoc, and if he gets ahead and starts to become fed against a non-CC team, he can actually be very strong. So anyways, back to reality. This never really happens that often at all, especially in the current meta, or at least at the elo that I've been playing at. For the most part, you're going to see a lot of champions with stuns, people who know how to kite and position themselves very well, or they know how to focus you down since the new Jax is not tanky at all. So first of all, let's just take a look at the changes that were made to him that differ him from previously. His old passive allowed him to gain a large amount of HP based on just building damage, and he no longer has that. Instead, he has a stacking attack speed buff, which is what makes him really strong in the jungle and can allow him to just do some good damage over time if left alone in a fight. The other thing is that he used to have a good amount of resist given to him when he popped his ultimate, but that is also taken away. So Jax went from being this strong, tanky DPS champion to being a glass cannon, like snap like a twig DPSer, and that's pretty much the difference in him. And they also removed the dodge from him, and in place of his dodge, he was given a complete garbage spell, which, every once in a while will be slightly useful. You use the ability and you get 1.5 seconds of dodge, and at the very end it'll automatically try and stun anyone that is close to you. However, the stun range is extremely small, so unless you're literally right on top of somebody, I think it's almost less than his auto attack range, you're probably not going to get a stun off. In fact, let me show you two cases here where I tried to get my stun off on Jax and I kind of failed it just because the timing on it is extremely difficult. In order to get your stun off before you are close to somebody, you have to time it so that you can jump onto them with your leap strike, but it's really difficult to do so, especially in a tight situation. So let me show you. In the first example, my team is in a battle with HEEEESSS as well as a Soraka. I'm just kind of hanging back as I'm pretty low, and the damage from HEEEESSS is pretty strong right now. So after he decides to run away, I kind of jump back. What I want to do here is wait for my cooldown on my stun. I'm going to use it to jump in, and unfortunately, I just waited a little bit too long, and it was literally just a split second. Wasn't able to get the stun off, and kind of baited myself into running a little too far into the turret, thinking I can at least get one more auto attack, but that was definitely not the case. For the next one, it's just me versus a Vladimir here. I popped my stun and tried to jump to him, but it literally went off just like while I was in the air, and I was not able to get the stun off once again. This time I don't actually die because I decided not to dive completely, but I could have easily gotten a kill onto him if the stun was more reliable. In my opinion, in order to make the stun much better, what they could have done to it is actually made it a second activate that lasted maybe 3-4 seconds after your dodge proc went off. That way you can actually use it yourself whenever you chose. So these several things that they took away from Jax in this remake really just combined together to make Jax a melee glass cannon with no real straight up burst that he can just jump in and kill someone with. So he still has that sustained damage that he had from before, but he doesn't have the actual self-sustain to make it happen any longer. Right now, he feels kind of like a squishy Master Yi, but without the ability to phase out of existence for a short duration. He has no ability to heal himself, and also he doesn't have that chasing ability that Master Yi or somebody would. He does have a fairly low cooldown on his leap strike, but you're only going to be able to get a leap strike off and an auto attack before you have to continue chasing them and wait for your cooldown once again, as most people can generally just outrun him for the most part. Unless you're able to get that stun off, which is, like I said, perfect timing. It's almost impossible to get that off unless you're a ninja or something. As far as in the jungle, I don't feel like Jax is necessarily as good as the other champions. Sure, he's actually really strong at clearing the waves, but he tends to lose out versus most of the other strong picks currently. So if they have like a Lee Sin or Skarner, or if they have a Shyvana jungling or anything like that, they'll definitely out counter jungle you, and you're not going to be able to make as big of an impact. He has a decent gank, but it's not necessarily as strong as a lot of other champions that can do the same thing and also not have the problems that Jax has. I do feel like Jax is kind of the king of small engages, however, so if you are able to get into situations where it's just going to be you and someone else versus another person, or 2 people, 3 people, then Jax will probably not be so bad. It's whenever you start to get to team fights that Jax becomes more and more useless, as he snaps like a twig. He doesn't really have much opportunity to do the damage that he needs to do before he dies. So on maps like Dominion, he's probably not going to be that bad at all. Maybe even good on 3v3 if any of you guys play that. But as far as Summoner's Rift is concerned, I'd probably keep him out of ranked right now until they decide to add some buffs to him. That's just my current opinion. If they were to change his stun and make it a second activate and possibly give him a little bit of his tankiness back, I could see Jax actually being viable. Again, he does do quite a bit of damage if he's able to actually stay alive long enough to do so, but right now there's just too many problems with him. If you do plan on playing Jax, my best recommendation is to go ahead and pick up a Vamp Scepter first. On your runes, you mostly just need armor and then attack speed. The rest is optional. I went for a 21-9-0 build. You can also do defensive masteries. He might actually need that more just to be tankier, but that's just what I was using for my testing out of Jax. You can start pretty much anywhere you want. I usually do wolves and then blue. However, the cool thing about Jax is if you do get countered, such as in this clip here, which was one of my very first games, you can easily switch over and do the Wraiths first, and then as long as you have somebody pull that red for you, you can actually pick up a really quick level 1 gank with that red buff. So I'm going to go ahead and take these Wraiths here, and my Volibear will pull the red for me, and then I'll run up and gank the top lane. As you build Jax, you want to get that Wriggles quickly, build into an Aegis, and then go for Merc Treads most likely, depending on the enemy team comp. And then after you get your Aegis, you can actually build into a Gunblade or a Trinity Force, just depending on what your personal preference is. Gunblade's not necessarily even anywhere near as strong as it used to be on him, but that lifesteal and magic vamp is actually pretty good for Jax, as he does need any kind of survivability that he can possibly get. So either way, I like both of those choices, and that should help you out. For Jax, the main thing you need to figure out how to do is learn what types of engages that you can jump into and fight, and get that timing of your stun down. You need to make sure you jump a little bit early, so don't wait more than a second, because it's 1.5 seconds before the stun goes off. So you have to pop the stun and then literally like jump almost right away. That is if you want to get that stun off, and a lot of times you're going to miss it. It's going to be very frustrating, but that's pretty much all you can do. For Jax, just gank early and often and try and farm up as much as possible. So that's it for my impressions of the new remade Jax. I do hope that Riot can tweak him a little bit more. I would like to see him get stronger than he is currently, possibly a little bit more usable with his stun. For now, however, I would not recommend him to most players. I would say stick with the stronger champions right now. If you guys enjoyed my first impressions, please hit that like button. It really helps support me. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you around next week. The Scope of Cheese. Peace out.